Morning, Doug. How are you?
Good. Is this Ben?
Yep, this is Ben.
It's a beautiful day out here in Alexandria, Minnesota.
Alexandria. I used to live up I grew up around North Branch, Minnesota. So about an hour north
Sure,
of
I know that.
like Forest Lake, Hinckley, kind of in between those two. So, yeah.
Yep, I know where that's at. The crappies are biting right now. That's all I got to add this morning.
That's all right.
Hey, I was flying earlier this morning, and I know while we're waiting for people to get on here, and I took a picture of my aileron trim tab on my CX4 location.
Okay.
I wanted to share it with the group to see if I'm in the right spot with it. How do I share a photo that I've taken on my smartphone?
Okay.
Or can you?
I don't know. I haven't used the app too much on my phone. I know if it's on your computer screen, you can share your screen. I'm not sure if the phone has the same. Let me just connect to it with my phone and see. Let me join the meeting with my phone here and see if it gives me that option to share my screen. Let's see here. All right. Bert, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I got you.
There we go. All right. Let's see. Okay, so I have my phone here, Doug. Okay, so I see there's a little button down here on mine that says share. So and then it says photo, document, web URL, bookmark, screen, whiteboard. So.
Oh yeah. Okay, I got it.
You got it? Okay, cool.
Punch that, and then go to your photos.
Yep. So then you should be able to get that to show up.
Okay, let's see if I can find that.
All right.
Can you see that?
Yes. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
See where the trim tab is right in the middle there of the aileron? I've got a slightly heavy left wing.
Okay.
So I put that trim tab in the middle, bent it up so that the wind coming over the top of the wing would force that aileron down to hopefully lift the wing. And I don't know if putting it there or way out on the outboard end or closer to the cabin or the fuselage would be more effective. That's my question.
Well, you're going to have more leverage towards the tip of the wing, right? But as far as airflow goes, you might want to review those the videos that Glenn did with that was the CX5, I guess, but so it might give you some idea where the air is hitting it in stable flight on the CX5 anyways. It's not a 4, but I'm not sure. Is Bird's building a 5? Martin, you built, or we're building a 4. Did you ever mess with adding a trim tab to lighten a wing?
Hang on a second here.
Sure.
Is my audio working?
Yep, I can hear you, Martin.
Okay, good. Yeah, no. I never got to the ailerons. I've never been a fan of full length ones. I was going to make mine in 2 pieces, but
well, I mean, it's not a huge thing. I can just drill out the rivets and move it to the end, because you're saying there's more leverage on the aileron out there. And I guess I could look at that Tuft videos of Glenn's and see, but
yeah,
I
would look at those videos. Just even though it's a CX5 and it's not your exact airplane, because everyone's differently. It might give you an idea of how much airflow is going over different sections of the wing. It's like a Tuft test, right? So he has a little tufts on there, so you can see where he's having laminar airflow or not, or where the airflow is separated from the wing. Might want to look at that, but otherwise, yeah, the reason I say there's more leverage or towards the tip of the wing is so your center of roll is down the center of the fuselage, right? So any right. So if you put a like a little the same, if you put a trim tab at the tip of the wing that was the same exact amount of trim as towards the fuselage, the tip of the wing is going to have more effect, right?
I see what you're saying.
So
Yeah, I'll look at that video of Glenn's, because you're really not trimming the wing at a solid fixture or solid point on the wingtip. You're trimming it by forcing the aileron down from wind flow.
right.
Yeah, I got a quick question, Doug. When
Yeah.
you were doing your initial weight and balance, did you actually weigh both landing gear and that's why you have a heavy wing, or is it just because it drops?
No, it's actually pretty doggone close on all three. It's a tail dragger. All 3 points, weight and balance turned out really good. And it's very stable as far as pitch. It's still sensitive, but all of them are, I think. But I think because when you build these wings, you're not building them from a jig, as you all know. You can easily, and I've heard this or seen this on other discussions, where the wing maybe is just built a little different from the left to the right or something. Just a little bit may make a difference. Or my rear wing spar maybe quarter half inch up or down from the right one. I don't know. I'm guessing that. I just don't know for sure. And it's not real bad. I can just put a little light pressure on the stick when flying.
Okay.
Don't they many times put about a 2 degree down on the outer end of the wing to so it stalls near the fuselage first?
Yeah, as far as washout on the wing, you're saying? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to get that.
2 or 2.5 degrees.
Yeah, it stalls pretty darn straight and it lands straight. I don't have a problem with that. Like I said, it's not a huge deal, but it's just a little annoying because you kind of like to fly a little bit hands-free. And if I do, it will slowly just kind of ease off to the left in coordinated flight. And that's why I put that trim tab on there. Didn't seem to make much difference. That's why I thought, well, wonder if I move it someplace else along that aileron wing. That was my whole question this morning, I guess. I think I'm going to take Ben's suggestion and move it out towards the end and see what that does.
Well, one other thing, I was looking at, so I've been working on building the CX7, right? And one thing before that, I was working at the CX5 parts, the CX4 parts, but I was very focused on a specific part at a time, not the whole assembly. So one thing with the CX7 I noticed is the engine mount is the same as the CX5, but there's no adjustment for, I think, is it P factor? I want to say it's the torque of the propeller, right? So so there's no offset. Usually, I think on a Cub it's like a 2 degree or something offset on their engine mount to accommodate for that, right?
Depends upon its rotation, but it's either left or right.
Yeah, exactly. Depending upon if it's clockwise, counterclockwise.
The descending blade is creating more lift.
What was that, Martin? 2-blade what?
The descending blade is creating more thrust. So
Yeah.
which way your engine's turning.
Yeah, so it'll dig. So I'm trying to think. So Doug, what on yours? If you're drifting to the left, and let's see, which way does the RevMaster rotate looking from the cockpit? Is it counterclockwise? Yeah. So in theory, it could just be that pulling you to the left slight. I mean, maybe not totally. Everybody else would have a similar experience then, right? But could be something like that where it's not even your aileron. You said it's pretty evenly balanced when you're controlling it, right? Or does it have a bit more left?
Yeah, it's pretty even that way. What I did was when I built it, I put 2 or 3 washers. I can't remember if it was the right side or the left side to offset that P factor. Because you're right, the engine mounts are pretty straightforward. And then I put right or left rudder in, trying to see if that makes a difference. And it helps a little, but I can just kind of feel it's actually the wing itself is coming down heavy. And not so much P factor or rudder trim or anything like that, because
Okay.
it's just a little bit of drop, I guess. On the
Doug, the only other thing I've seen mentioned is on the ailerons themselves, when you bend that trailing edge, if you want to increase the lift on that side, you can either shorten that or squeeze it a little bit on the trailing edge, and that'll affect it.
Oh, no kidding. So what, take a couple of 2x4s and clamp it off and tighten it up a little, or what?
Yeah, my hanger mate's got a CX4, and he basically adjusted it with that and didn't have to use a trim tab.
Okay.
The
So he
RV
actually went on the heavy wing and tightened it up, or on the other one?
I'm going to have to get some information because I don't really know what he did. But he didn't have to use his trim tab after he did it.
Yeah, if you can, because I don't want to, because once you do that, you're kind of committed.
Yeah.
It would probably be good if I got his phone number and gave it to you, and you could talk to him directly, so I don't have to translate.
Thanks.
maybe yours is crimping the trailing edge.
I just wonder if there's something online, like a blog or something that discusses it.
I'll have to do some
Yeah, do a little
blogging.
Yeah. Patrick posted something on the Yahoo or the group site about that. It was an article in Kit Plains from 2013, a couple days ago.
Oh, okay. I'll go. Good timing.
Cool. Well, it's good stuff. A good topic to go over. I'm learning things, and it's good. Yeah, you'll have to share what you figure out there, Doug.
Yeah, and it's just kind of interesting because lately they've been talking about that online on the CX4 forums line, where we call it nowadays, where I think Glenn was talking about putting a leading, I probably got the terminology wrong, leading edge on his vertical fin and cantering it off a little one direction to kind of counter that P factor or that left turning tendency of the CX5 he's got anyways. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, he said it was.
well, anyways, thanks for the
much
input.
more stable that way.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Doug, did you intend your stars and bars to be pointed backwards?
Not too many people notice that. That's pretty good. I know I did. I got it wrong. I put it on and I thought, what's the difference or whatever. I wasn't paying attention. And they're decals, so I can always get some new ones.
Hey, Doug, this is Bert. Could you give me your email real quick, and I'll make sure I got it the right one?
Sure. It's pretty simple. CX4 flyer. And then the number 5252, that's my serial number, at gmail.com.
You mind going through that once again? It's flyer, F-L-I-E-R?
Flyer, CX4 flyer, and then the number 52 at gmail.com.
Hey, got it. I'll send you Tom's information. You can call him.
All right. Thanks a lot, man.
Doug, you're the one up in Alexandria, right?
Yeah, you're the guy down in the cities, right, Jeff? Minneapolis area, was it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
We got a little low clouds up here this morning, but I did manage to get a flight in.
Did you? Nice. Yeah, I had my Sonics up yesterday for the first time in a while, and just going to do a quick annual on it here. But maybe in the coming weeks I can swing up there and say hi in person.
You're breaking up a little, Jeff, but I got that you're swinging up in the area. Absolutely, stop in and you can visit the CX4 and do some hangar talk.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I'll turn my video off here. I don't have a great connection, but hey, you guys, and I haven't been. I'm behind on email, so I haven't been keeping up on the aileron conversations. And I just built mine recently. I'm hoping you guys can hear me, but
Yep, we can hear you, Jeff.
and I have the CX5. Those are pretty long bends. They're a little over 8 feet long. And I did the Home Depot brake, rented a brake for an afternoon and brought it home. And I think that bend pretty much maxes out that Home Depot rental brake. My one tip, because I screwed a couple up, I might have mentioned this earlier, but my one tip is that when you lay the aileron out on your sheet, to do the trailing edge, the actual trailing edge of the aileron to be perfectly in line with the grain of the aluminum. If you look at the plan, there's a kind of a nice 90-degree corner, and if you lay it out that way, the trailing edge is maybe 15-20 degrees off the grain of the aluminum. And that's how I did my first one, and I did not get a straight bend in it. But when I relayed it out and had the perfect with grain of the aluminum, it seemed to go a little bit better. I don't think it would be an issue if you had a good brake, but if you're just doing the cheapy Home Depot, siding brake, 10-foot siding brake, that helped me get a better trailing edge bend on mine, just in case that's helpful for anybody out there.
Yeah, that's good, Jeff. Thank you. Cool.
Hey, I can too. I'll try with the video on, but I can just kind of give you guys an update. I got my one wing over in the rack. I finally got that thing all riveted up, and then my second wing, I've been taking it apart here. I drilled it up to 1/8 inch all the way through, and now I'm just taking it apart, and have spent several hours over the last week or two here just deburring kind of the painful slog. But I've got the one bottom skin that I still need to pull the coating off and deburr, and then I got to deburr the whole frame, and then I'll put that thing back together and rivet it up. So I'm hoping that's done soon. I'd love to go into June working on the fuselage or thinking about the fuselage, but it always takes longer than you think it's going to. So anyway, that's just a quick update on my project.
Very cool. So as I can grab my laptop and walk out in the shop and show you the progress on the CX7 here. Let me, I got a new phone, Greg. Greg and I were on a call yesterday. I ended up dropping my phone. So.
Oh.
Who are you, Barney?
At least you got one.
Say hi to me.
So.
In the reading room when you dropped it, or what?
No, I was out in the shop. Here, let me grab my laptop. Morning.
Yeah.
How's
he doing?
Oh,
Good morning.
Somebody on mute here. I think there's some background noise on the iPhone person. Rob, I see there's another Rob here.
Yeah, Rob Flood.
Oh, hey, Rob Flood. Yeah, I see you're playing with us.
Been trying to make some of these meetings, but Saturday mornings is my flight time, so.
Well, that's all right. You got the priorities correct then, I think. So.
Right. Yeah. That's the only time we can fly out here in the desert. So in the summertime, it gets a little warm, so we got to get up first thing in the morning and go. So.
That's all right. Well, cool. Thanks for joining us.
Well, appreciate you having me.
I was just gonna.
Don't let me disturb what you were in the middle of. I just got in.
Oh, that's all right. No, I was gonna make everybody seasick by walking out to the shop here and showing you the progress on the CX7. So do that here.
Hey, Rob, where are you in the desert?
Sorry, it takes me a second to turn my microphone back on. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona.
Is it 100 degrees yet?
Yeah, we've hit it a couple of times, but we've been down in the 90s the last week, and next week we're supposed to go over 110. So summer is here.
I used to go down to Tucson quite a bit on business, and I loved it between November and February. Otherwise, I didn't care.
Yeah, our winters out here are really nice, but you got to pay for them with the summers. That's why half the population leaves at this time of year.
Well, they can come up to Seattle.
See what rain looks like, huh?
It's just backwards. We got 4 months of good weather here. Ends up from June to October, and that's about it.
Yeah. Then it's cold and snow, huh?
Hey, Doug,
No, no.
I sent you that information, so you should have it.
All right. Thanks, Bert.
If you get bored, Jeff, you can fly down the river to La Crosse. I'm right next to the airport.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Yeah, I forgot that there's a lacrosse guy on here too. Wait, which one of you is down by lacrosse?
Martin.
Martin, okay.
You guys can
I've
post in the chat if you want, phone numbers or emails or whatever.
Well,
yeah.
Since this will go up, or yeah, if it's in the chat, it should be fine. I was going to say if you, this will go up on YouTube here in a couple of days. So anything you want, like public, you don't want like anyone to see, keep that off. But yeah, the chat, I'm not going to be sharing the chat screen. So,
okay,
cool.
That sounds good. Yeah, I was gonna say, I've flown down to Winona quite a few times. That's one of my favorite flights. I go over to Red Wing and then down the river to Winona and Rushford. I don't know if you've ever flown into the Rushford Airport down in southeastern Minnesota.
You just had a hangar fire.
Oh, really?
Yep, burned down a hangar with about 6 planes in it.
Oh man, that's one of my favorite places to go. It's kind of like a little bit like landing on an aircraft carrier. The way it's up on that bluff there, kind of drops off. Yeah, I'll definitely get your info too. Now that I got the Sonics running again, I'm kind of anxious to get out there and get some flying in, and great to have a place to go. So yeah.
What age
all right, hey Ben, you want to show us your stuff while you're out there?
Yeah, I was just, I mean, that's what I don't have an agenda. I just thought I'd kind of show you. So, yeah, Greg and I were talking yesterday. He got the latest updates from Dave on the CX7. So he's been looking over those with me. Two brains, or his full brain and my half brain put together, help out, figure out dimensions and stuff. So we determined that the firewall that I made is off. It's about 1/4 inch tall. So I have some changes to make there. So I'll end up scrapping this one. But for now, I'm just gonna leave it on there. I just took a note that I need to remake. So, but otherwise, yeah, it's coming along. I got I got upright now, so it's yeah, sitting as it will be in the plane. Everything's bolted together. I think I have to add. Oh no, it looks like I already have those bolts. Okay, I was thinking I needed to add one bolt down here. I already have 2 into the lower longeron there. And I bent up. I have these all cut, but this is the I don't know if you can see that, but this will be where your seat is and such. So that's ready made, and then I have the bulkhead. I think it's, let's see, which way does it go? It goes this way, I believe. This will be one of the front side bulkhead pieces. I have those cut in the form blocks made and everything. So those are, I think I'm going to probably put those on next just to kind of make it look a little more like an airplane. And then the next thing I'm working on is, after that, we'll be back here. I need to put the lower longerons. Let's see, can you see? There'll be some angle coming back. It's like a double angle that comes back here. So that'll be kind of the next thing. I think it's somewhere in here. Can you see that? Yeah, these are not the right pieces, but it'll be longer than that. But anyways, that's kind of the next piece. And then working on those seat ribs, and they're all cutting on the shelf and form blocks made and everything. So yeah, I'm just kind of plodding along, making progress. So it's been kind of a fun process. Yeah, we had some there was some discrepancy on the plans in the distances between the upper and lower longerons here. Or yeah, the upper and lower longerons, and so that took us a while to figure out. Greg did a lot of calls with Dave and head scratching and measuring and remeasuring, and so I think I'm pretty happy where those are at. They matched the latest prints that Dave sent out. So, but yeah, I think that's most of it. Yeah.
Did you make your own center section there, Ben?
Yeah. So I'm making, so Doug, I make parts for the Thatchers, right? So I have the rights.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah.
Right. So so this is a CX7 center section that I made. Yeah, but like I was telling Greg yesterday, it's really nice being able to, I put my the aluminum in my CNC router. I hit the button, walk away. An hour and a half later, I have parts made with holes drilled, match holes and everything. And it's kind of a mess right now in my shop, but this is what I use. So, but yeah, so then I have the holes, drilled in proper locations and everything. And it's just ready to go. And I can just, I mean, it took me from putting aluminum on the table to having it finished riveted was maybe 2.5 hours of work, something like that. So that's pretty fast. So this whole, the whole, measuring and drilling all these longerons and stuff, I'm not doing that on the machine. This is all, hand, like any other appliance builder would do.
Scratch builder.
Hey, Ben, it would be real interesting to see your router at work sometime. Was that a home-built DIY router?
Halfway. So the controller and the drive systems are from Avid CNC, but I couldn't justify spending another $7,000 for a frame on it. So it's high wind linear rails. It's a 4 by 6 inch rectangular tube frame that is just welded. I TIG welded it, and then I have for the gantry. It's I think it's a 8 by 4 aluminum, like 1/4 inch aluminum. Oh, sorry, there you go. But the drive systems are from Avid CNC. The controllers from Avid CNC, and so then basically I had to build it and then wire it up. Took some messing around. I mean, for the money I have into it, it does a good job. It doesn't have a tool changer and it doesn't have a vacuum table. And those are two things that I'm really missing. So I've actually been pricing out and looking at buying probably a used commercial router, like a Como or a Onsrud or something like that. But they're just a lot of money. There's $60,000, $70,000. So it's I have to find I mean, well, I'm sorry, used they're $60,000 or $70,000. So I can get a used maybe something else for maybe 30 or 35. But it's hard to justify that right now with the business where it's at. But
build a lot of parts.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's Zenith has 2 Onsrud routers that are probably 120,000 brand new. Yeah. Actually, I just saw a video that they got a new one the other day. I mean, yeah, that's real money. So for me, it doesn't make sense. I'm not making that much money right now on this. I'm probably about profitable by now after a couple of years in the investment I've made, but on the other hand, it's really fun. So
how did you rivet your center spar?
Oh yeah. So I have a squeezer. So I have a 6,000 pound squeezer here. Sorry. I have all kinds of other things, plastic injection molding and some other stuff. So just miscellaneous stuff. I don't know if you know, I'm a single guy, so I can get away with this. But yeah, so I have a squeezer here. So basically, I bought the unit off eBay for not terrible amount of money, and then ended up having it rebuilt by Atlantic. I think it was Atlantic Air Tool. I want to say down in like maybe Nashville area, something like that. And I made a comment to them when I was talking with them on the phone about the rebuild, and I said, yeah, I'd really like to get a C-frame for it, but they're just a lot of money because I mean to buy that setup brand new is $6-7 grand, I think. And so they ended up giving me a really good deal on a C-frame for it, and the pneumatic pedal and everything. So so that's how I squeeze those. So
that's a nice setup.
Yeah, and then for like the the ribs for the lightning holes. I have this Mittler press, so I can do 3 and 4 inch holes. It cuts the holes and flanges them at the same time. It's kind of fantastic. That was one we really needed. And then I'm working on, my dad and I, when I say we, it's my dad and I, or my son sometimes, he comes out and helps me rivet or cleco things together too. But we're working on figuring out how to form the ribs and basically, you know, bulkheads, whatever, using just a large hydraulic press rather than hand forming them, which is unfortunately kind of what we're doing right now. It works. It's accurate. It works fine, but it's just time consuming. If we could flange them with a press, you know, I could probably cut a couple $100 off of that kit, you know, just because it would go a lot quicker. And also when it comes to doing the matched hole kits, in theory, I would be able to pre-drill the holes in the flat sheet when I'm cutting the rib blanks out and bend them in the press, and they would consistently put those holes in the right spot so it would match the skins that go over. And that's kind of what the golden part of having a kit to offer, I think. So, but yeah, anyways, that's kind of my little world here. So.
That looks great. Hey, Ben, I just I just shared with you, I'm trying to anyway, via Dropbox. A couple of years ago, I can't remember, it's 2-3 years ago now, I stopped in Pensacola. I was driving a car down to Florida for my parents. I stopped by to see Glenn and Dave, and Dave was working on the CX7 prototype then. And the wings were done. The fuselage was a little bit farther along than where you are. You know, he kind of had it mocked up so I could try sitting in it and just, you know, see how things were sized up. But I snapped a bunch of photos because everything was kind of exposed at the time. You know, part kind of where you are now. I just zipped up those, it's about 50 photos that I snapped and shared it with you via Dropbox.
Okay.
I'm guessing it's not changed, but it might just kind of give you some insight into how he was approaching that part of the build on the prototype, at least.
I know on the CX4 community site, there's a whole bunch of photos, and I think you're in one of those at least. So
okay.
were you actually like sitting in the plane in one of your photos?
Yeah, and I might have that one in here too. Yeah, it was down on the floor of the hangar, you know, just up on some wood blocks.
If you
but
go
that
to
whole part that you're working on is, you know, I snapped a lot of photos. Didn't really have a plan, but just kind of walked around taking photos. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is on the CX4 community site. So yeah, there's honestly, these have been more helpful in some ways than the builder's manual. I can blow them up a little larger, and they're just taken from a bunch of different angles, so I can see a little more of how things are going together. But yeah, this is pretty helpful. Yeah, one of the things, this is actually where, here, let me open, no, that's not what I wanted. Open image in new tab. Yeah, so like this photo, when I pull it over here, I can just zoom into it. Okay, I say that, now it's not letting me.
Well, so I just shared 50 photos with you. They're all high res. They're all, I think it's a 300 or 400 megabytes from right about that time and that day that I was there. And I'm happy to share those out with anybody that wants them. I just don't know kind of, or if Ben, if you have a good way to publish those out to the group, you know, feel free to do so. A lot of them are just kind of close ups of the different kind of intersections or joint areas, you know. I don't even know what they are. I was just trying to take as many pictures as I could, as quick as I could. So
yeah, understood. Yeah, I appreciate it. Brian Wallstrom with the Experimental Aviation Channel, he had gone down there and did a video walk around of the CX7. It's probably been 6-9 months ago, something like that. He lives down in Florida. But he sent me over some high-res photos of the finished plane, which is helpful in some ways as well, but not quite the same as having the skins off and everything. So yeah, good. Cool. Yeah, I appreciate it.
It's impressive to see that I'm actually wearing the exact same thing right now that I was wearing in that photo that was taken however many, literally years ago. My money definitely doesn't go to my wardrobe.
Hope you've changed your shirt since then.
I did. I think this is actually from Ben. I think this was new since then. So it is a new T-shirt underneath.
That's all right.
Hey guys, thanks a lot for. I got to run. My dog's going over to the next door neighbor's yard here. So we'll see y'all. Thanks for the information on the aileron too. I'm going to try that.
All right, sounds good, Doug. Have a good one.
Tough. See you.
Doug.
Cool.
Well, that sure beats having to mail 3x5 pictures to one another.
Yeah, I agree, Martin. It's nice having this technology stuff. It's kind of hard to beat. We get spoiled though when we lose our internet connection and stuff. So the house would have a more comfortable chair in my office than my stool. So.
Well, guys, I should probably run today too. I got a long list of chores, and I kind of want to get back out to the airport and finish up some work on the Sonics today. But Ben, if you don't get those photos, or if you have trouble accessing them, just let me know, and I'll try to get them to you another way. I'm not sure the best way to share when it's that big, but and like I said, if those can get shared out to the rest of the group somehow, that's great too.
You probably.
But otherwise, I'll see you guys the next time around.
Probably
Okay.
put them on the cloud and give us access.
And maybe that's the best thing. I put them on Dropbox, which I guess is sort of the cloud. And I shared a link with Ben, but maybe I could put it out there and share a link with the whole group and just leave it up there for a week or so, or a week or two for anyone that wants to grab it. So
yeah.
Ben, see if it works for you.
Okay.
And then we'll
do. I'll watch my email here. I assume it might take a little while if it's putting together a zip file or something. Or
let me look.
Sending the pictures too large today.
Let's see. Checking what my
I don't want.
No.
Is there any way that for the more computer savvy people that we could set up like a community bulletin board with a password so people could go in and post updates on their projects?
Well, we have the groups.io forum. I'm not sure who's managing that one. My intention is to set up a knowledge base I would limit it to plans holders, but basically then it would be just a basic knowledge base where, like Jeff's photos, maybe you might say, when you're building ailerons, here's some photos of the steps that I took to, do this or something like that. But anytime, like the questions about all this whole series of emails on the groups.io about ailerons. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I see it in the chat here, Jeff. So cool.
Yeah, we'll try that too. It did just finish uploading to Dropbox, and I did just post a link for anyone on here right now, a link in the chat. It's a zip file.
Oh, wait a minute, I can't hear. What? Maybe.
So I posted a link to that zip file. If you grab that and open it up, there should be about 50 kind of high-res photos in there, that forward fuselage walk around. So
cool. Yeah. I'm going to wait to download it until after we're off the call so my internet doesn't die. But
yeah, good call.
Cool. So,
all right, I'm going to head out. Take care, guys. Good to see y'all.
Yep. Take care, Jeff.
Bye-bye.
So I figure maybe we should have, if you don't mind giving us a little information, Rob Flood, about your CX5. Maybe, I don't know if you can do a walk around or just at least maybe just talk about it. Tell us about how it flies. Tell us about what changes you made or choices you decided on. Or
I'll try. I've been muting on and off because I'm at the airport and planes pass you by and a helicopter takes off and that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of new at this, so don't get.
Oh, it's all right. Yeah, it would just be fun to see you have a flying CX5, and it's good to get another impression than Glenn's. So.
There it is. Oops, I can. That's it. I've got the scoop that Jake and we've been talking about, the van scoop on the bottom of the cowling, and I added a cowl flap to it. Even I don't know if you can see that, but
I do.
Right there, and it doesn't seem to do a thing. So there's my engineering. I don't know, what else have we been talking about lately? Let's see.
A couple of weeks ago, we were talking about vinyl wrapping, and if I heard right, you vinyl wrapped yours instead of painting
Yeah,
it.
this is all vinyl wrap. Let's see if I can get a shot of it here where it's the black, the stripes. The black was put on first,
Okay.
and then the stripes were installed over it. I don't know if I can really.
Yeah, we can kind of see the black looks kind of flat, and then the stripes are glossier, it looks like.
Yeah, it's a matte finish black. That was my choice, just to do something a little different. And even the white, I don't know if you can pick it up here, but the white is a carbon fiber weave to it, just to make it different. And then the stripes are all high gloss. It's all a 3M product that I had a local guy do. He's done he did one other plane for a buddy of mine. It was his first airplane, a younger guy, but does a really good job. Takes him about 3 days or so of evening work doing it.
But he applied it and everything. He cut it and applied it and everything.
You just stick it on dry and squeegee it out essentially. And, of course he makes it look simple. I tried one piece and it took me about 4 hours to put one little piece of a plane in a couple of days.
Looks like it covers the rivets well.
Yeah, it really does. It kind of blends the rivets in. I don't know if I can get a spot where I'm in the hangar, so it's kind of shady, and see if I can get a shot on the wing.
Oh yeah.
We can. Yeah, it's hard to see. Of course, black is hard to record.
So can you tell us about what like the research you did and the decision to go with vinyl versus paint, and why you made those decisions?
Mostly paint around here. In Phoenix, we're a larger city, so the paint shops are all out of town. Because of all the EPA regulations and all of that stuff. That it was. I got a couple of prices, and they were $12,000 to $15,000 to paint the airplane.
Gotcha.
I vinyl wrapped with labor for about $4,500.
Wow.
You could have done it yourself for about, I don't know, $1,000, $1,500 worth of material.
Okay.
Really paying for labor more than anything. So, so far it's held up really well. The only thing he warned me about was, let's see if I can get it in here, these stripes on the
kind of leading edge there.
Right, the very leading edge. He doesn't like points leading into the wind. So he kind of rounded them and said if they started to peel, to cut them back a little further and make them broader. Just
that makes sense. Yeah, it's supposed to be more adhesive area. Yeah, just
simple stuff. Guys were talking about I don't know how my video's doing here.
It's not bad.
Do it. So if I'm getting you guys sick, tell me. There's the.
Okay, so you added that strake like Glenn has on.
And what I did with the strake, instead, I wanted to put more of a curve to it to match the curved vertical. So the same way you build the vertical with the aluminum tube in it, I did the same thing here with the strake. So it really gave it a good look. It was just kind of stumbled onto it, but it's not quite as big as Glenn's. I think maybe I should have built it a little bit bigger, but I really don't do a lot of cross-country work. Most of my flying's an hour here, an hour there, and I'm not flying in really rough stuff anyway. If it's that bad, I don't go flying. If the weather's really terrible, so I just don't go. I get in front of it again, so I'm not shooting back towards the light. Maybe you guys can see this thing a little better.
And you have the RevMaster engine and carburetor, right?
I have the RevMaster engine and the RevFlow carburetor. That's why I added the scoop on the bottom because the RevFlow, and then I've got RevMaster's 4-into-1 exhaust too.
Okay.
The stainless exhaust, so it won't fit. You can't put the Zenith carburetor on with the 4-into-1 exhaust because the crossover pipes are right in the way. So
okay.
I think Bob Hassan is working on that. He's got the 4-into-1, but the Zenith carb. So it took me a long time to get the carburetor working right. I played with it. Of course, I was fighting cylinder head temps and all that, like typical new engine. These things are pretty tight. when they're new. And so I'm at about 70 some hours now. And it seems like every flight it's getting a little better now.
Okay.
Hi, Rob. That plane looks really great.
Yeah, it does.
I wonder, did you have an interference issue between the rev flow exhaust system and the firewall?
Yes, just the stinger. Let's see if I can get a shot of it. Where the stinger comes out of the bottom. And of course, I'd have to take the cowling off, but it hit the firewall right
Looks like
here.
you notched it a little. Huh?
So I just notched it, bent it down, and re-welded it.
Got it.
So
I
it just
had
took
the same exact.
it didn't take a lot to get it there, but it worked.
Yep, I did. I had the exact same issue. I hollowed out the firewall and put a exhaust stack around the exhaust tube, but I left it straight. So I left the original angle of the exhaust, put an exhaust stack around it, and I'll be drawing air through that.
Yeah, well, every little bit helps. I found what's worked best for me in cooling is the baffles on the engine. I use what Volkswagens call the cool tins. If you're familiar with Volkswagens, they're the baffles that a lot of the sandrail guys and stuff put underneath the cylinders and heads to wrap the air around the cylinders more before it exits. And I noticed like Sonics does. And so that's kind of my next thought, is maybe going there to try to get some more cooling out of it. You know, of course, I run under extreme conditions out here in the desert too, so a lot of you not have the cooling issues I have.
That's a great test bed for us.
Yeah, that's what I figure. If I can get it cool, you guys can get it cool. Because we're not dealing with a lot of humidity out here. So,
right.
What altitude are you at?
Phoenix is about 1,500 MSM.
Okay.
And I'm usually flying, 1,000, 1,500, a couple thousand feet above off AGL. So,
gotcha.
I still got to do interior. I don't know if you can see down in the black hole there, but I'm still just using booster cushions for seats. But I got door panels and armrests done, but seats are still. I got to get with an upholsterer and get that done. That's that's the fun. That's the colorful stuff to do later. The first few seasons have been. Oh, people were asking about my latches. I don't know. You can see if I can operate it. It sticks a pin right out and it does the same on the back. It's going down the tube on the back side.
Nice.
I don't know, it just seemed a little easier to build. I built a steel frame out of 1/2-inch square tube and a tubing roller. And then I put a backing plate on it so the canopy has something to rest on. So it's the windshield bow is much stronger than the aluminum tube. Probably added some weight, I'm sure, but I was willing to take that weight gain just to have a canopy that operates nice and isn't too flimsy. I'll break it if it's flimsy.
Yeah, Rob, that's a very elegant canopy. Thanks.
It worked. I'm using little rubber well nuts inside the 1/2-inch tube, and then just a flathead machine screw with the washer on it, so I can oversize the holes in the plexiglass. And then I was able to put the little vans.
Ah, there you go.
Vents on either side. I know Norm had talked about this filler piece in mine. This filler piece right here. Because my windshield did end up high. I got the first canopy out of airplane plastics. Real good people up there. Great people. Because I guess they were getting them from, the originals came from a guy down in Florida that went out of business. And I chased him for about a year.
Oh, the guy in Georgia he died in a plane crash.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
The other guy, I don't know what is. I chased him and he gave me all kinds of answers. Never actually produced one. I wanted to buy one and couldn't. So Airplane Plastics made this one. I guess Thatcher was going to him about the same time. So this is the first one they made to try out. It came with the windshield cut off of the bubble already. So it was a little short, and I raised mine up slightly just for a little more headroom because I'm 6'1". So I wanted a little extra headroom. So by doing that, I kind of left an opening right here that I just filled with aluminum, and it was a great place to put my side fence. So
Yeah.
it
Yes.
gave me some room. So, that's experimental, right? Okay, this doesn't work. What do we got to do to make it fit?
I was going to cut my canopy, and then when I went to pick it up, he backed off and didn't want to cut it. So my canopy is still in one piece.
I think it might actually be better that way, because then you get to choose exactly where to cut it and where you want the bow and all that, where I had the two pieces, so I just built the plane to match the pieces. I don't know
I like
if it's
the
better or not. So it's whatever the plastic was, that's what I had. It took a lot of notching to get it up, over the instrument cowling here.
Did you have yours shipped or did you pick it up?
No, I shipped it because
What did
City, Ohio is a long way from Phoenix. So it was big box. I don't remember what he charged, but I know it wasn't cheap, but it was what it was. It was one of those. It was $150 in shipping or something like that. It came $4. Sorry, I got planes going overhead.
Somebody the other day posted that they left the canopy intact and they fold the whole thing rather than cutting.
Yeah, Jake up in Oregon did that because he'd built an RV before, and that's the way RV does it.
Looked like a
he did a
nice
beautiful job.
installation.
I guess I like the windshield hoop to hang on to getting in and out. It's nice to have something. If you've ever flown like a side-by-side with a tip-up canopy on it, the tip-ups are nice and they move up out of your way. The problem is trying to get out of it. You've got nothing to hold on to. There's no windshield bow. You've got the side rails, and you got to kind of slide up out of the thing, which takes a little work, So having the between the windshield bow right here and the roll bar here, I've got a lot of place to hang on to.
That looks great, Rob. What about the prop? Is that a P-tip prop?
Yeah, that's a what's his name? Prince. There it is, Lonnie Prince. Lonnie Prince.
Yeah.
Tip prop. I got it because it looked cool.
Do you like the way it operates? Do you like the RPM and everything?
Yeah, actually, at first it was a little low, but as the engine was tight, but as the engine's loosened up, in the winter when I'm running, when I've got good cold air, I can turn about 3,300 RPM max in cruise.
What kind of cruise speed do you get?
It's about 127 max. I'm cruising typically about 3,000 RPM at about 115 mile per hour. So roughly 100 knots.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Glenn says I'm getting a little better performance than he is out of his, and he thinks it's in the prop. According to RevMaster, Joe at RevMaster thinks Glenn is losing a little horsepower with the Zenith carb as opposed to his carb. Make your own decisions there. I don't know.
Yeah,
we're in the black art of carburetors and propellant.
Exactly.
It's personal choice.
Yeah, really. I don't know if you can see it. I'll move in on it. Here, see the little crinkles in my prop. I've got some little bubbles on it. I talked to Lonnie about that, and he says it's from the heat. Something about black carbon fiber doesn't like the heat. So, of course, that's what you get for making a black airplane in the desert, right? So, nobody's ever accused me of being a bright man.
Yeah, but it's cool looking. So cool.
Does your fuel system include the engine-driven fuel pump, or are you just pushing it with electric fuel pumps?
No, I've got the engine-driven fuel pump. I worked with Ralph Maloof at RevMaster, Joe's engineer. Real great guy. If you guys have been to the air shows and met him, he's a treasure, a real treasure of a guy. Done all kinds of stuff. He said run the mechanical pump and then run an electric pump in the back. His concern was he wanted me to push the fuel up because it's not gravity feed. He wanted me to push the fuel to the engine, don't pull it. So the electric pump is under the rear seat where the fuel tanks can gravity feed to it, so it's not having to draw any suck on the fuel. And then it's pushing it forward to the mechanical pump, so they're in series. And then the mechanical pump runs it by the carburetor. Of course, the rev flow, all I'm doing is making a loop past the carburetor and then returning to the tank through a restrictor. And that little restrictor I made is what sets my fuel pressure at about 1 PSI. So
Okay. So that engine-driven fuel pump doesn't outdo the electric one or try to shove it above 1 PSI.
Well, because it's returning back to the tank, it's I'm determining the fuel pressure by the restrictor I put in the return line, which I have at a firewall, and I have it all cowled up. I guess one of these days I could uncowl it for a meeting or something and show you guys or take some up on it. But I essentially made a jet, a restrictor for the fuel going back to the fuel tanks. So it really made for a complex fuel system that I was trying to avoid at all costs. But I've got a fuel selector underneath the rear seat also, a 6-port electric fuel selector, like what Zenith uses on theirs, on their fuel-injected engines. So that way I return the fuel to the same tank I'm drawing it out of. Because you've got 2 wing tanks. When you select one, you've got to select them both. So I made some basic drawings years back on the list there, but we could do something again if somebody's interested in repeating it. My electric fuel pump is a little facet pump, but it has no check valves in it. So the mechanical pump will draw fuel right through it. If the electric were to fail, the mechanical pump will continue to run. I'll just run at a lower fuel pressure. So the only concern there is I could vapor lock by sucking on the fuel all the way up to the mechanical pump on the front of the engine. So, if it failed in flight, as long as I stayed level and didn't do any major climbs or hard turns or pull any hard G's, the engine should continue to run. It works on the ground. I haven't tested it in the air just yet. I'm thinking about putting a second fuel pump in under the seat just to have the redundancy in there, which is what Ralph is recommending I do. So that may be this.
Yeah, Rob, I understand the complexity of that fuel system you have with the return lines and everything. I have a regular tank selector up front that has 6 ports. It's a duplex valve. So you have 2 lines coming from the 2 tanks for in, and then 2 return lines going back out. So it's very complex. I went go ahead.
That valve is actually a motor-driven valve. So if it fails, it just stays where it's at. You just can't move it is all. So the failure mode on it isn't so bad. That didn't worry me. And like I say, Zenith's been using it on their engines, on their airplanes with the ULs, fuel-injected engines in it. And everybody I've talked to hasn't had a problem with it. So,
it's a beautiful airplane.
Thanks. That's what I wanted, a hot rod. Was my intentions here. Were Glenn's got the factory clean airplane. I wanted something like what you do to a '67 Chevy Camaro or something.
Yeah. You ever think about using the airfoils on the landing gear?
What's that? I'm sorry. Say that again.
You ever think about fairing the landing gear? Putting fairings on them?
I haven't. What I did on the back side of the landing gear, I just bent a little V-shaped strip of aluminum sheet. And my brake lines run right down the back edge of the landing gear.
Right.
I got again. I stole this off of Zenith design. I think they make a little V-shaped cap and just kind of clips right over the brake line. It covers and protects the brake line that way, and it kind of gives an aerodynamic tail to the main
Sounds
gear.
real good.
Yeah, and it's a piece of 20 thousandths. You bend up on the brake, a V with a couple little flanges, and then I glued that on with some acrylic goop, clamped it down. It's there, and it won't move. Now it's covered under vinyl, so the vinyl will keep it on, I hope.
That's great. What a nice plane.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. The air brake definitely works too. I've been playing with that some lately. The plane is the best landing plane I've ever flown. It just set an attitude and it just goes into auto land. Even the times where it's given up a little higher, I'm a little higher. I landed about 2 feet above the ground, kind of. Those. It just, instead of dropping, it just kind of mushes down. It just slowly just kind of exhales and just sets right down. Easy enough that I can keep the nose wheel off. I just set it on the mains, hold the nose wheel off, and taxi. Just hold balance right on the mains. It really is a nice landing plane, and that speed brake definitely adds some to it. So
yeah, my hangar mate with the CX4, my hangar mate. He's a real new pilot, first time builder, built the CX4.
Yeah, it makes you look like an ace. People say, wow, you did a great landing. It's like, that's not me.
It's great.
Yeah.
That's what got me interested in the CX, was when I saw him flying that. He looked so professional flying it. I'm going like, you been flying long? Yeah, I got my license last year.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I got 100 hours now. I'm ready. Yeah. People like the sound. People say the sound of mine coming by with the 4-into-1 exhaust sounds good. They said it sounds like a proper little airplane, but I don't know. Inside, it sounds completely different. It's just noisy to me. So
is it noisy?
That's mostly the reason I did it, was trying to cut the noise down.
Yeah, I'm trying to build it with the least amount of noise that I can get.
Yeah, I tried a baffle in the Stinger, but it didn't really do much. It didn't do anything noticeable. It's like a little, baffle that they make for like the Harleys and stuff with great pipes. Stuck it in there thinking maybe that would help, but it's not even noticeable. So I took it back out. So
got it.
One less thing to fall off the airplane, right? So.
Rob, your engine has the mechanical fuel pump with the oil filter mount on it then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
because when I talked to Joe about a year ago, he was really poo-pooing the mechanical fuel pump. And I mean, he just didn't want to do it. And I try to trade off the mechanical and not get the carburetor.
Yeah, I don't know why guys have a problem with mechanical fuel pumps. I mean, every other airplane's run them for how many years? Decades. We've had them in cars forever. They're fairly cheap. I don't know what Joe gets for them at RevMaster, but I just figure every couple of years I'm just going to bolt a new one on and be done with it for whatever it cost. It cost $100 or whatever. Put a new one on, and now I know I'm good for. It's kind of like spark plugs. When we're paying $2 a piece for spark plugs, why would I clean them? Yeah.
Exactly.
Some of this stuff is cheap enough that I get it if it's a $500 fuel pump, but this is a Volkswagen pump, something like it, I think. It's a
redundancy of having a mechanical and the electrical. So, electrical is fine until you have an electrical failure.
Yeah. And that was my concern, is I was trying to keep it as simple as possible. And I know electric pumps fail, that even more often than mechanicals. So again, with the electric, I plan on just, it's been this fall will be my second annual on it. And I plan on just putting a new one in it. They're $30-some for an electric facet pump. Aircraft Spruce has them. I'll order one up. I'll stick it in there and throw the old one away, just so I know I've got a brand new one in there. And I'm going to look at, do I have the room and the piping to put a second one in because then I'll have to have check valves and all of that, and that's complicating things even more. So
Are the two pumps that you have, they're located individually by each fuel tank? If you put an extra one in there, would it be downstream of the fuel selector valve between there and the engine so that it would be just a single added one?
I only have one electric fuel pump right now under the rear seat where both tanks go through the selector into the pump and then forward to the mechanical pump on the engine. So if I put another one in, it would be under the rear seat there as just in parallel with the first one. So if one failed, I could switch a second one on. But I want to check it in the air. I'm like I say, on the ground, I've done full runs on the ground with attitude and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And the engine continues to run just fine with just the mechanical. The concern is pulling that fuel that far, you may pull into a vapor lock under a high climb, on a takeoff or something like that. So, as long as my electric fuel pump fails in cruise and not in initial climb out, I'm flying off 7,000 foot runway here, and I fly in and out of airports around here, so I'm not doing a lot of short field stuff. So,
is that mechanical fuel pump, is that something specific that RevMaster makes, or is that just a regular VW fuel pump?
It's just that mount, and then they're using a regular.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's a standard Volkswagen pump or if it's an aftermarket. It's a mechanical pump. He's just mounting it in a different location. He's got his special little casting that mounts the fuel pump and the oil filter.
Okay, that's like up front on the engine?
Right on the front of the engine off to the right side.
Yes.
Where the Volkswagen fuel pump's normally mounted on top of the front of the engine.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So if you look at RevMaster's website, it shows it as an option or accessory or something, I think. So.
Okay, and it's co-located with the oil filter, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it's one casting that he made that runs holds both the oil filter and the mechanical fuel pump.
Gotcha. Cool.
I look at the electric pump is more like if you're flying Pipers, you turn them on and off or take off and landing and cruise, turn them off and just let the mechanical pump do its thing.
That's almost what mine is, but I drop fuel pressure. I drop fuel pressure when I do. The engine continues to run. It just runs at a lower fuel pressure, and it'll run slightly leaner, but it continues to run, and it's not ready to give up. I could get to my destination with it that way. So I haven't proven this out in the air yet, just because I've been working on cooling issues, all the million of other little list things that an airplane takes, and just gotten to the point where I'm actually just starting to have some fun flights with it, instead of everything being a test flight. Cool. Just go out and every now and then I get in and just fly around and have fun.
Yeah, one variation that I do, we're putting a little reservoir on the firewall, and the two pumps just keep that reservoir full. I have no restrictors pushing and putting the gas back in the tanks. It just keeps that little reservoir full, and so I would have gas, whatever the angle of attack.
Yeah, and then you're gravity feeding out of that tank into
exactly 12 inches.
I played with that idea. I wasn't sure how much room I was going to have on the firewall to hang something.
Yeah, I just used one of those little gascolators. Instead of using it to trap water, I just use that as to feed the carburetor.
Huh. I don't see why it wouldn't work.
Well, we'll see. It's experimental.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they call them experimentals. Nobody really knows. This engine isn't really designed around. He designed this engine around the plane out of the 70s. When he had the 2100. And
just
obviously,
being around you guys, I'm so stoked up about this airplane. Just being around you guys.
When you fly it, that made all the difference. I spent 4 years building this thing, and I spent a lot of days and nights and weekends. I was single at the time, So, I had the time to put into it, but, and I was really beginning to wonder if why I was doing it. And when you start flying it, you realize that, this is a great flying little plane.
It is.
Like Jake said, it's not it doesn't have the fastest roll rate, but it really does. It does cruise nice. It's a nice cruiser. Everybody say hi to Dwight.
Right.
Yeah, I'm teleconferencing all the other Thatcher guys.
So how do you like your ailerons?
What's that? Say that again.
I said, what's your side story, I guess, on the ailerons? Do you think they're sufficient for the plans, or you think they need more?
They're definitely slower than some of the other things I've flown, but this thing kind of flies like a glider anyway. It's feels like a long wing, so it is a slower response. But I've never run out of aileron. I've never had a problem with it not being enough. You're not going to do loops and rolls in it, but the plane wasn't designed to do that. It's not an aerobatic plane, so I don't know. I don't have a problem with the ailerons. Yeah. The only aerobatics I do are by accident.
Hey, Rob, where into the fuel tank did you plumb the return line? Did you go to the outboard side?
Yeah, I went to the just high inboard.
Oh, gotcha.
I think I took pictures of it someplace. I rarely ever fill the tanks completely full, right to the top. And even still, I haven't had a problem when they were. I've filled it up enough where the vents on my caps were siphoning fuel overboard. When I looked out, went, yeah, maybe I ought to draw some fuel off of that tank for a while.
Okay, and no problem with the return line even then?
Yeah, no problem with the return line then. So it didn't change fuel pressure. If it did, it was maybe 1/10 of a PSI or something. So nothing that would change the way the engine run or noticeable. So
Gotcha,
I've got a Dynan HDX. I sprung the money and put the Dynan touchscreen in it. And the nice part about that is I'm able to see, fuel pressure to 1/10 of a PSI, EGTs and CHTs down to, 1 degree, which sometimes is troublesome because you worry about the wrong stuff. But and it also data logs all of that, so I can download it. I can download all of the info after a flight and graph it up on a computer and show what my RPM or fuel pressure or some 50 parameters. It's got it all in there that I can graph out and see. So that really does help.
Yeah. Would I be able to email you and ask a couple more details about your fuel system? I talked to Joe Horvath about it too. He was very, very impressed with it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, not a problem.
Awesome.
You've got my email address?
Yeah, I think I've seen it on the Thatcher groups.
Yeah, AZRob03 for Arizona Rob 03, the number 03 at cox.net, cox.net. So,
gotcha. Thank you.
Anybody need something? I'm still a working man. I'm not retired like all these old guys I hang out with out here at the airport are. So sometimes it takes me a few days to get back to you. What else? What else you want to know? What else haven't I told you? Haven't I bragged my airplane enough?
Take a picture of your panel sometime.
Oh yeah, I'll post one up. I've got plenty of those. Matter of fact, I took one at full throttle level flight one day, just so you could see, fuel pressure. And I don't know how well it comes through on that bulletin board. If it doesn't, then I can always email them to somebody.
Did you do anything? Did you do anything special with your instrument panel so that there was like a detachable sub panel or an easier way to access behind it, or is it just kind of it is as is?
My the panel I looked at making the top panel removable so I could get behind it, but that with the windshield and all of that, that makes it a lot tougher. So where the HDX is mounted in the center of the panel, I mounted a piano hinge across the bottom, and the center, the entire center of my panel with a couple of screws folds down. So I can get the components behind it. I've got some pictures of it when I was constructing it and stuff. I can put on the bulletin board.
Love to see it.
Access is everything when you got digital instruments. I had a radio go bad already, so needed to get to it.
Very cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing with us, Rob. That's a beautiful plane, and yeah, it's good to hear a firsthand experience with flying them. So
yeah, if we can get Glenn on here one of these days for, I flew up to Sun and Fun the year before mine was flying and met Glenn just because I wanted to see his plane and talk with him about flying it before I flew mine for the first time. And he's a really nice guy for those of you that haven't spoke with him. Real gracious guy. So hopefully we can get him on these morning meetings sometime. Or better yet, if we can go to a weekday evening, that'd work even better. So
yeah, we've kind of been talking about doing one of those as well, because you figure some people it doesn't work very well. I know we've had a guy from South Africa and a guy from Australia on, and it's kind of the time zone thing and all that too. So yeah, we'll maybe try and do one. Maybe I don't know, 6, 7, 8 o'clock.
You almost appease everyone.
Yeah, and it's hard to get everybody, but yeah, it's been good having these. I think it's been good. I think most people have been a little bit inspired and gotten some questions answered, and
yeah.
Fun getting to know people too, so.
I've missed the first couple, but I watched the recordings of them on YouTube, so I can keep up with, who's doing what and all the good ideas, because I'm learning something from all of them.
Yep, same here. Yep. Well, good. Well, cool. Anybody else have anything to talk through, or questions or issues or anything?
I had one question I'd love to hear some thought on.
Sure.
Okay, so I notice in the CX7 parts list, we've got these 1604-04112. The bottom line is they're countersunk rivets. They're pull rivets. Mm-hmm. On sheet 16 with the vertical stabilizer, there's BSC43 countersunk rivets. They're pull rivets. Now, one of those, I guess, are AVEX and one are Cherry. Bottom line is both of those have 120-degree countersink. Mm-hmm. Then on the tool list for the CX7, it lists the micro stop countersink number 133. Now that comes with 100-degree countersink cutters, but we've got 120-degree pull rivets. Now the AN426 is the solid ones. If we use those as countersunk, that's 100 degrees. But I'm just curious about 100-degree countersinks and the rivets being 120-degree countersunk rivets. And if there's any reconciliation of that, or what'd you guys do?
Give me a sec here. Just looking at which one of these.
I think it's not going to work.
Zenith uses the countersunk rivets, but then with their dome squeezer, they actually crimp them down so they look like a domed rivet on their skins.
Yes.
Gives you a more flat surface. Why did they use the countersunk on the tail?
Apparently, so it creates that
somewhere
flatter surface where it attaches to the fuselage itself. It's just the lower portion of it.
I think possibly that they use the countersink ones because they're going to overlap any kind of fairing you put on there, and if you had the protruding rivets, it would interfere. Where if you have the countersunk ones, it'll fit flush. That's my guess. Does that sound right?
Yeah, something like that. The other thing that I found is like those hand squeezer sheet metal, I'll say dimple dies to put the countersink in. Most of those are kind of favoring that 100-degree countersink, and then that cutter's got the 100-degree, but yet here we sit with these 120-degree countersunk rivets, and that was admittedly throwing me for a little bit of a loop. And I was really curious how that's been, whatever, dealt with.
Yeah, I'm just looking. I'm trying to figure out where you found the angle on the countersink tool. I have a Avery. Oh wait, I'm sorry, it's right in front of my eyes. Okay, yeah, I see the 100-degree there. All right.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
Yeah, so I have a 100-degree. Now that being said, I haven't used it yet. So
Right.
I don't know.
Now you got me worried that I put because I used the Avery countersink 100-degree in mine and put the rivets in. Wonder if mine are wrong.
Well, I wonder if it's an effect like we just discussed with the Zenith rivets, where they actually use the countersunk, but they have a machined domed head, and it actually forces the countersunk head down flat. Are we actually, because sometimes the head of a pull countersunk rivet will leave something sticking up, but if we're it down into a deeper countersink, actually form that head like the Zenith ones and actually pushing it down in there. My mind was kind of running the gamut on that, and I was just kind of curious.
I mean, the Zenith isn't using any, they're using their countersunk rivets on regular flush skins. There's no pulling or machine countersinking.
Yeah, absolutely. But my point being there, I guess they're reforming that head. It starts out like this, and then that domed part, reforms that head to go down flat against that surface. We would have something like this, and then it goes into that countersink and would push it in a little bit further.
I'm guessing that's what mine did. I didn't even really realize the rivet was 120 and not 100-degree. Stuck it in there, squeezed it, it pulled tight and kept on moving. I guess I didn't really pay much attention to it.
Well, and sometimes I've heard that on that top surface, it can leave some stuff there. So if it did that, it might have formed that down a little bit and actually done a favor.
I was going to say, because the countersink would be just in the backing, right? The angle or whatever it would be, right? And so, and then you dimple the skin with a dimple die, and then you'd put your rivet in. So maybe it's like it averages out to make it, suck that skin into that countersink, and it ends up working.
Yeah, because the rivet is like a wider angle. The countersink that it's going into would be I'm being a little extreme, but like that. And so the head would tend to go as it would form against that countersunk material, I believe.
I'm just looking to see, are there 120-degree countersink cutters?
There are cutters.
I see 82-degree.
I found them from Aircraft Tool Supply. I did order a 1/8 120-degree cutter, but then I also got that pop dimple die that you can put in a hand riveter and pull it against. But those are not 120 degrees. And so that's where I was kind of stuck. If I could have found one of those that was 120, I got the 120 cutter, I got the 120 dimple die. It's like I'm good, but I couldn't find that. And then I got to thinking, was there a reason to it?
Right.
Well, gentlemen, I'm going to have to get going. I'll talk to you later.
Sounds good. Take care. Just looking at this micro stop.
Might be one to ask Dave about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was next on my list to ask them about. I figured I'd just hoist it out here and see what the consensus was.
I just went to get my cutter to see what it said on it.
Oh, beautiful.
3/8 by 100 degree by number 30. So
Yeah,
that's a
okay.
100 degree cutter.
That's what I have, yeah.
Okay.
See if my other one says the same thing. Two different sizes. If I can get it out of the packaging, that is.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Half by 100 by 316. Yeah, so they're both 100 degree. Those are the cutters I used on them anyway. So
Okay.
I may have done mine wrong, is what that means. So, which exact rivets are we talking about? These are the ones that are going on the bottom of the horizontal stabilizer?
Yeah, or it might be the bottom of the vertical stabilizer, but the answer
Yeah, I think
to that is really yes.
Vertical, where the spar goes in. Okay.
That's where it mounts to the bulkhead, the rearmost bulkhead, I think, because there's
Right.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think it's the bottom of the vertical. I want to say.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably what I did then. I didn't even realize those were 120 degree rivets. If I did, I didn't pay attention to it and shoved them in and pulled them down and went, yep. Okay, she's tight. Kept it off.
Yeah, it's the
Well, there you
vertical
go. It was tight.
That's something to lay awake about at night. Yeah, mine worked. That's all I can tell you. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, as rivets are pulled, metal is deformed. It must comply to, whatever level.
yeah. Well, when in doubt, put a couple extra in.
Like him.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, guys, anything else? If
Nice.
not, we can call it, and I'll get back to building. So.
Yeah, Bill, get flying.
You got a long
Yeah.
weekend to do it in.
I know. I got plans to be out in the shop a lot. So.
Oshkosh 2021, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm planning on Sun and Fun next year. I've never been to Sun and Fun. I've wanted to, and I figure, well, if I can't go to Oshkosh this year, I'll go to Sun and Fun next year. So yeah, and Oshkosh.
Plenty of parking at Oshkosh this year.
They're both a long ways from here. I'll stick
I suppose
with street out
we
here.
could just show up at Oshkosh and just.
I'm flying. I'm flying over there just to say I was there. If they don't let me park, I'll just take off and go someplace else. But I'm going to go over and park in Boeing Plaza and take a selfie and then come home.
Sure, that's a good plan. I like it.
Yeah. Make your own T-shirt.
Where was everybody else?
Yeah, the sole attendee of the 22.
Yeah. Funny. All right, guys. Well, have a good weekend, and enjoy your building time and flying time, and we'll catch you guys next week. Yeah, Rob, we'll try and get one set up for a weekday here, maybe a week or two, for maybe not next week, maybe the following week, just so there's plenty of time to kind of announce it and stuff.
Yeah.
What time would work for you on a evening one like that?
Anytime after 4 o'clock Arizona time, which is Pacific right now.
Are you Pacific? Oh, yeah.
Problem is that runs your East Coast awful late. I know. So
Yeah, they don't have
make 'em
daylight.
wherever you got to make them, and we'll work around it.
Those East Coasters. Oh, hey, Greg. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hi there.
Maybe that'll get Glenn to show up if it's on a weeknight.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll try. So cool. All right. Thanks,
Okay.
guys. Have a
See
good
y'all.
one.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ben.
Yep. Bye.